covers 80% of the Earth's surface. It is the only substance naturally found on Earth in three forms: solid, liquid, and gas. It is essential to life, comprising nearly 70% of the human body. Yet, of all the water found on Earth, only 1% is available for drinking. The amount of water is constant and recycled throughout time. All of the water that will ever be is right now. The water we drink today has been here for millions of years, and it's the same water on which generations will rely forever. Our water supply is so important that communities and water users in and around Butler County have joined together to protect our water resource. Hamilton, Fairfield, Cincinnati, the Southwest Regional Water District, Smart Papers, and the Southwestern Ohio Water Company have formed the Hamilton to New Baltimore Groundwater Consortium. Each consortium member has one element in common. They rely on an enormous underground water supply deep beneath the surface. The water supply, known as an aquifer, generally runs in the valley along the Great Miami River. Hence its name, the Great Miami Buried Valley Aquifer. The Great Miami River was important to the development of industry and settlements along the waterway. The river allowed for the transportation of raw materials into the area and an easy way to export goods out of the area. The river also provided mechanical power to operate machinery. But it was the quality of the water resources deep within the giant aquifer that made the area so desirable for settlers. Today, the aquifer continues to be an important attraction for residents and industry. The aquifer was formed thousands, even millions of years ago. Huge glaciers as tall as a mile high carved out this bowl-shaped valley from solid bedrock. When they melted, the shrinking glaciers deposited sand and gravel, which have been trapped in the ice. With time, water seeped into the gravel and pooled in the bedrock deep underground. When it rains, water hits the ground and flows along the surface of the land. Some finds its way into streams, rivers, and lakes. Some is used by plants and trees, and some of it returns to the atmosphere through evaporation. But a significant amount of the water continues its journey downward, replenishing the aquifer held in place by the bedrock. The water creates a massive water resource among the layers and layers of sand and gravel. To extract the water, wells are drilled deep into the ground and into the aquifer. A depth of 150 feet is not uncommon. Then the water is pumped out of the ground. Years ago, hand pumps like this one were commonplace in the countryside. Today, however, most residents rely on water utilities to provide the safe water they need for everyday living. The concept is still the same, but on a massive scale. Members of the Hamilton to New Baltimore Groundwater Consortium pump more than 61 million gallons of water every day. After it's pumped from the aquifer, the water is directed into treatment plants throughout the region for distribution to residents. The Great Miami Buried Valley Aquifer is the source of water for roughly 1/2 million people and the industries on which the communities rely for jobs. And it's the only economically feasible source of drinking water in the region. Together, the members of the Hamilton to New Baltimore Groundwater Consortium have invested about $1/2 billion in their water delivery networks. So protecting the water supply from pollution is a critical mission of the Groundwater Consortium. Of particular concern are accidents involving hazardous materials, often involving large quantities of concentrated materials. Leaking underground storage tanks, sometimes not detected until serious environmental damage has occurred. Improper handling or disposal of industrial hazards. Leaks from landfills. Abandoned wells, which can provide a direct route for hazards into our water supply. And gravel pits, which can expose groundwater resources to potential contamination. The threats posed by large-scale incidents are obvious, since hazardous contaminants could seep through the ground and mix with our groundwater resources. But large-scale incidents aren't the only threat to our groundwater supply. A series of seemingly insignificant actions by any of us could combine to impact our aquifer. Actions like the improper disposal of motor oil, paint, or paint thinners. A poorly maintained car that has an oil, radiator, or transmission leak. The over-application of pesticides, herbicides, or fertilizers, thinking that more is better, when in reality, it isn't. Even the use of toxic household cleaners can affect our aquifer over time. As the rain comes down, it can wash the substances directly into the ground, or carry them into storm drains, which empty into natural waterways. As for rivers and tributaries, some receive water from the aquifer, others feed the aquifer, so they too could impact our water supply deep in the ground. Over time, seemingly small quantities of contaminants could have a significant impact. Cleaning up an area of contamination is no easy task. Containment is the first step that emergency crews take to prevent further damage. Local emergency crews are well trained and well equipped for most situations. In serious situations, fire departments work closely together to protect our environment. But prevention is the best policy. Once an incident occurs, it is impossible to easily see just how extensive the damage could be, or how deep the pollution could have gone. Extensive testing is required to first identify the contamination and how far it may have traveled. If the area can be treated, that too is an expensive undertaking, usually requiring the contaminated soil to be removed. In some cases, a water treatment plant could have to shut down a well to prevent contamination from entering the treatment plant. In serious cases of contamination, nearby wells must be closed, with the community having to re-drill a well somewhere else, if it's available, or even find a whole new source of drinking water. But there's a lot we can do to help protect our underground water resources. Communities can guard against illegal dumping, protect from spills, and reclaim old gravel pits by turning them into recreational areas like this one in Fairfield. Each household can practice the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reduce the amount of potentially hazardous materials by purchasing only what you need for immediate use. Try reducing your use of hazardous substances by using non-toxic alternatives when selecting cleaners, pesticides, herbicides, paints, and thinners. And remember that more isn't always better. Reduce the amount of water you use. Small efforts add up. Install low-flow shower heads that deliver the same pressure, but use about half the flow of water of regular shower heads, conserving about 25 gallons of water for each 10-minute shower. Many toilets use about 3 gallons of water or more with each flush. Use a device that offsets some of the water in your toilet tank. A water offset still delivers the pressure needed, but saves water. And turning off the water as you brush your teeth saves about 2 gallons. Now that's something to smile about. As for the other 2 R's, reuse and recycle, the more we keep out of a landfill, the better for us all, since landfills can pose a significant contamination threat if they're not properly constructed or maintained as well as this one. Reuse paints. Mix them for use in areas where a color is not critical. Buy reusable batteries. If you have what is considered household hazardous waste, such as gasoline, unwanted paint, or vehicular fluids, watch for the date of the household hazardous waste disposal event. Once collected, Many of the items can be recycled. If not, they can be properly disposed. Dispose of oil at a neighborhood shop which accepts and recycles oil. You can also get involved in conservation and protection efforts outside your home. Many area communities have recognized the importance of a unified approach to protecting our water supply and have adopted similar special zoning to regulate the types of business which can be operated in areas over or near our water supply. Past awareness and prevention efforts by our communities, by water suppliers, concerned groups, and citizens have earned the Groundwater Consortium the American Water Works Association State and National Exemplary Groundwater Protection Awards. In addition, the consortium has consistently earned the prestigious Groundwater Guardian Award. Every time you turn on a faucet, you're tapping into our groundwater resources. While the water makes a small detour through the treatment plant serving your home, school, or business, you still are relying on water deep in the ground. The same water that once sustained the dinosaurs and quenched the thirst of our ancestors. It's the same water that our children's children will need. What we do with it today does matter. It's our water in that hidden natural resource called an aquifer, and our responsibility